This is Tammy Louise. I've made a tutorial today with a Elizabeth Bell image from Whimsy Stamps. Her name is Tweetest Friends. I've colored her with my Copic ink, and I've decided to make a layered card. I placed it around the image, and I'm going to cut it out and create a frame with it. I know that it takes away half of the image, but these images are so cute. It reminds me when I was young how the photographs used to be taken, and I wanted to make a card that was sort of like that so I could send it to my mom. I'm going to cut another one of the same sentiment ovals in brown cardstock, and then I'm going to show you a little trick. I just puncture a hole in the center with my scissors, and I embossed it so it is bumped up and shows me exactly where the rim would be, and it's really simple to fussy cut the rest of it out because the paper's not fighting you quite as much on the inside in the center of the oval. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to try and go around it again and make it as smooth as I can so that it looks exactly like a frame. And just to make sure that I don't have any pieces that are missing or anything else, I just make sure that it's nice and clean on the inside. Now I use the tape runner as a dotted tape runner so that because it's an intricate die, you don't get any tape or residue on the inside sections that you want to see all the way through. Place it on top and it's nice and secure, and that portion of the project is completed. The next portion, I'm going to use the honeycomb die set from Whimsy Stamps and cut it from a Michelle Roos design paper. The paper is called Purple Cottage Charms, and I'm going to emboss it as well so that I get a little bit more texture in the card. And then underneath that, I'm going to layer that on top of the larger of the two honeycomb dies that come in the set from Whimsy. And I'm going to emboss the brown as well. Run it through my Cut-A-Blog. I'm going to layer the design paper on top of the brown, put some tape runner underneath there and attach it. And what I'm going to do is place these around the card itself, and I'll show you how it just kind of adds to the design paper. The card is, this is showing you a picture of everything that I've used. I've used a little bit of rhinestone, a little bit of lace. Most of this is from my collection. The celebration pennants are from Whimsy Stamps. I'm also going to be using the vine set die from Whimsy Stamps, and that was the collection that I chose from Michelle Roos's paper called Purple Cottage Charms. I also used the butterfly border, the stitched border set. These are both dies that are available at Whimsy Stamps as well. The card is an A2 5.5 by 4 1/4, and the brown stock is then 1/8 smaller than that, and the actual design paper is 1/8 less than that. So here I'm going to layer the design paper on the inside of the, they call it honeycomb, octagon, whatever you want to call it, but it's called the honeycomb die set. And I'm going to adhere, after I cut the stitch border around the design paper, I'm going to adhere the honeycombs to the outside, but only half of them or 1/4 of them, and I'm going to place them all around the outer rim and use the other halves that I cut off from the back of it, you'll see here in just a second, to fill in some of the gaps. Now I did realize after I played with this for a little while that there were too many, and I changed it in the end, but you can kind of see how the process works. I love the purple butterflies that are on this design paper. She has a little set of extras that go in the design paper, and I use those to add a little bit more texture and structure to the project. The purple in this paper is just beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to, like I said earlier, adhere the honeycombs in sections to the outside. I don't show you all of it, but you'll see now that I have entered them all, and now I'm cutting the remainder half off, and I use some of those little sections to fill in some of the gaps. I did this on 2 different cards, and the honeycomb are a little bit larger than the round that I used, so this one ended up being a little bit more full than I liked in the end, but I do take them off in the end. Here I'm just applying some of the lace that I had in my stash. I'm going to create a little bit of frill to the bottom of it, and then I put another flower ribbon on the top of that. So when you have a design paper that's very subtle and pale, but beautiful color tones, you can add to the design paper by creating either circles or octagons or squares or anything like that and cutting them around the edges. It adds a little bit more dimension. Here's the butterfly die. I do add that to one side. It is one butterfly too long, which ended up being perfect because I then trimmed that off and I glued it to the back of the card cover before putting it on the actual scored base of the card. And I used that extra butterfly, those 2 extra butterflies, I cut them apart and glued them on top of the border in the same place that the butterfly was. So it added even a little bit more texture. I'm going to use some pop dots on the portfolio frame, the ornate sort of frame that I've got the Elizabeth Bell image. Her name is Tweetest Friends again. And I'm going to pop that up in the center. And here's where I cut those separate butterflies apart, and I add them to the border. If there's ever a question whether or not this is live viewing, it definitely is. We can change our minds on the projects after we've looked at them for a little while, and that's okay. It's okay to take a look and see whether or not you still like it in the end as much as you did at the beginning, and adjust it a little bit so that this isn't an exact science. This is art. This is creativity, and we can change our minds on anything. It's pretty simple with the tape runner that I use. The hot glue is a little bit more difficult to take off, but it does work. I hot glued the little butterfly on the center of one of the honeycomb sections. And now I'm building off to the side of the frame a little floret. I twist a tulip from Wild Orchid Crafts with a rose, and they become a long dimensional so I can lay them vertically, and then the smaller little carnations are popped in the center so that it covers the stems of the other 2 flowers. Hot glue them on. I got a dark purple in the center and some lighter ones on the sides. And this is where I also use the vine set from Whimsy Stamps. I just love the smaller vine. It can be put anywhere. It can be on the top or the bottom of the card, but tuck it right underneath some of those flowers, and it just gives you a little bit more lift on the card. I love that vine. And I cut it from the same design paper that I was already using. I have some butterflies in my stash from the Little Scraps store, and it's brown and purple, so it matched perfectly. I popped up some rhinestones from Recollections into the butterfly border. It's a pretty quick and easy project, but it looks, ends up looking more complex than it actually is in the end. And we're going to grab the honeycomb sentiment set, and I used one of the smaller ones on white Nina cardstock, and from the everyday sentiment set I stamped in the center celebration pennants set, sorry. Those are from Whimsy Stamps as well. I used it in the inside of the card, and then I applied the topper to the scored card. The project is almost complete. Just use a few pop dots, place it all together, and I do show you briefly the second card that I made at the end. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. For any questions, visit my blog or whimsystamps.com for product information. It's Tammy Louise. Thank you for visiting. Have a great day.